Hello everyone, welcome to History and Culture. The Zhenfei Well is located inside the Zhenshuan Gate at the northern end of the Ningshou Palace in Beijing's Forbidden City. Originally, it was just an ordinary well in the palace. So how did Zhenfei end up taking her own life in the well? Regarding this question, a eunuch named Cui Yugua, who was close to Empress Dowager Cixi, seems to have provided an explanation. Cui Yugua was not an ordinary person. He served as a high-ranking eunuch in the late Qing dynasty and initially worked in the Prince Qing's residence. Later, when a theater troupe was established in the palace, Cui, known for his martial skills, was recommended to perform, which won him Cixi's favor and marked the beginning of his career. He was castrated at the age of 12 in his hometown and later moved to Beijing, where he was promoted to the rank of second-in-command during the Guangxu period, holding a third-grade official title. After Cixi and Guangxu died in 1908, Cui Yugua left the palace and donated 680 mu of land to the Guandi Temple, where he lived with his apprentices and made a living by farming rice. He passed away in the temple in 1926 at the age of 65 and was buried at the Jingshan Baozong Temple in the western suburbs of Beijing. As a first-hand witness, Cui Yugua recalled Zhenfei's last moments in his later years, mentioning three phrases that left a deep impression on him: "I should not have died, the emperor did not let me die," and "You can escape if you want, but the emperor should not escape." According to historical records, Empress Dowager Cixi Zhenfei came from an official family of the Manchu Xianhong banner. Zhenfei's grandfather, Yu Tai, served as the governor of Shaanxi in Gansu, while her father, Zhang Su, was a right minister of the Ministry of Revenue, holding a second-grade official title. Her mother, Zhao, was a concubine in a household that had 4 main wives, all from prominent families, but none were able to raise children. Zhao gave birth to 3 children for Zhang Su, the eldest son, Ji Qi, and later, the sisters Jin Fei and Zhen Fei. Zhenfei was smart and charming, beloved by her elders from a young age. Her uncle, Zhang Shan, served as a general in Guangzhou. Zhenfei and her sister spent their childhood there. In Guangzhou, a prosperous trading port, Western culture flooded in, and the atmosphere was more open compared to the capital. The Zhang family was wealthy and provided a good living and educational environment for the sisters. They hired renowned private tutors to teach traditional arts such as music, chess, calligraphy, and painting, and even employed foreign teachers to teach English. In this environment, Zhenfei was exposed to Western ideas, far surpassing the views of most women of her time. Coupled with her lively personality, she yearned to break free from feudal constraints. In stark contrast, the life of Emperor Guangxu was very different. Guangxu was 5 years older than Zhenfei, his father was the 7th son of Emperor Daoguang, and his mother was Cixi's younger sister. After the death of Emperor Tongzhi, Cixi pushed the 4-year-old Aisin Zhoro Zaiqian to the throne, making him Emperor Guangxu. From then on, he left his parents and entered the Forbidden City. Inside the Forbidden City, Guangxu was awaited by Cixi and another Empress Dowager. Due to her experience of failing to educate Tongzhi, Cixi was very strict with Guangxu, even regulating his diet to ensure he ate every last bit and did not waste food. For Guangxu, the Forbidden City felt like a cold and oppressive prison, making his naturally quiet disposition seem even more docile and fragile. In 1888, at the age of 18, during a grand selection ceremony for concubines, and under Cixi's watchful gaze, Guangxu reluctantly presented the jade rui, a symbol of the empress, to Cixi's niece, Yehe Nala Jingfen. At the same time, Zhang Su's 2 daughters were conferred the titles of Jin Pin and Zhen Pin. In the first month of the following year, Zhenfei officially took charge of Jingren Palace. Empress Yehe Nala was plain-looking and hunchbacked, making it difficult for Guangxu to feel close to her. Jin Pin was also unattractive and gloomy, failing to win Guangxu's affections. At this time, Zhenfei was just 14 years old, beautiful and cheerful, bringing immense emotional comfort to Guangxu, who had long felt oppressed. She quickly gained his favor. Although Empress Longyu was Cixi's niece, she was dull and even Cixi didn't particularly like her. In contrast, Zhenfei was innocent and lively, intelligent and adaptable, quickly mastering the complex rules of the palace, which endeared her to Cixi. Cixi also admired Zhenfei's calligraphy and arranged for the talented Miao Jiahui to teach her art, even bestowing her writings of Fu, fortune, Shou, longevity, Long, dragon, and Hu, tiger, upon officials. Cixi once had Zhenfei preside over the succession ceremony in place of the empress, indicating her favoritism towards Zhenfei. In 1894, during Empress Dowager Cixi's 60th birthday, concubines Jin and Zhen were promoted to the rank of consort. Under the dual favor of Emperor Guangxu and Cixi, the young Zhenfei gradually became somewhat proud, planting the seeds for her later tragedy. Zhenfei was open-minded and fond of new things. Initially, Cixi found this refreshing, but over time, some of Zhenfei's actions began to displease her, such as wearing men's clothing while moving around the palace. This behavior upset Cixi. Having grown up in privilege, Zhenfei continued to enjoy lavish clothing and generously rewarded her servants after entering the palace. However, due to limited financial resources, she gradually faced economic difficulties. Although young, Zhenfei was quite clever and quickly devised a plan. She had a eunuch open a photography studio outside Donghua Gate to make money. Cixi soon learned of this and was furious, sternly rebuking Zhenfei, saying, "A palace consort should not behave like this," and executed the eunuch. Despite this, Zhenfei did not relent. Instead, she continued to take risks and started profiting through selling official positions. She collaborated with her brother and trusted eunuchs, accepting bribes to help officials secure appointments. Zhenfei once conspired to obtain a position for a man named Yu Ming in the salt administration. But Yu knew nothing about salt affairs and was eventually dismissed by Guangxu. Although Guangxu did not investigate further out of his affection for Zhenfei, the incident displeased Cixi, who chastised Zhenfei for undermining family rules. Zhenfei, believing she was favored, dared to confront Cixi. She defended her actions, claiming that selling official positions was not uncommon in the palace, even accusing Cixi of violating ancestral rules by ruling behind a curtain, asserting that she was merely imitating her. Cixi was infuriated and demoted Zhenfei to a lower rank, punishing her severely, which was highly unusual. It was evident that Cixi could no longer tolerate Zhenfei's behavior. Additionally, as a supporter of Guangxu, Zhenfei naturally did not find favor with Cixi. By punishing Zhenfei, Cixi was also warning Guangxu that she was the true ruler of the Forbidden City. Worse still, Zhenfei was pregnant at the time. She not only lost her child but was also rendered unable to conceive again. A few days later, Cixi ordered the punishment of the eunuchs close to Zhenfei. Some were executed, while others were demoted. Some historical records indicate that before Zhenfei was punished, the struggle between the emperor's faction and the Empress Dowager's faction had intensified. As a supporter of Guangxu, Zhenfei naturally sided with him. Her mentor, Wen Tingshi, had once impeached Li Hongzhang, who retaliated by impeaching Wen, accusing him of wanting to support Zhenfei to replace Empress Longyu. Consequently, Wen was expelled, and Zhenfei was demoted to a lower rank. However, Cixi later showed some leniency, and in 1895, Zhenfei was restored to her title. In April 1895, the Qing dynasty signed the Treaty of Shimonoseki with Japan, ending the First Sino-Japanese War. Soon after, Kang Yue, Liang Qichao, and over 1,300 literati from 18 provinces petitioned for reform to strengthen the country. Emperor Guangxu was enthusiastic about reform, and Zhenfei placed all her hopes on him. However, things did not go as planned. During the 100 Days Reform in 1898, the attempt to encircle Cixi failed, and she completely lost faith in Guangxu. He was placed under house arrest, and Zhenfei was relegated to the cold palace, confined in the northern section of Zhongzui Palace. This location was at the northernmost part of the Forbidden City, desolate and secluded. Upon her arrival, the main door was locked, sealed with the Interior Ministry's seal. She was placed in a small room at the far west of the northern building, with the door locked from the outside, leaving only a small window for water, food, and waste. In the cold palace, Zhenfei could only have 2 simple meals a day and was not allowed to light lamps at night, leaving her surroundings in complete darkness. No one could speak to her, and her life was filled with loneliness and despair. During festivals and on the 1st and 15th days of each month, Empress Dowager Cixi would send eunuchs to reprimand Concubine Zhen. Those eunuchs would point at her nose and enumerate her various offenses, while Zhen could only kneel and endure the humiliation, her dignity trampled. Having lost the luxury, freedom, and dignity of her past, Zhen endured this for 3 long years. In this dark time, her only belief was in Emperor Guangxu. She was unaware that foreign powers had already invaded the capital and that Cixi was hurriedly planning to flee the Forbidden City. On July 20, 1900, after lunch, Cixi ordered the eunuch Cui Yugui to summon Concubine Zhen. Surprisingly, Zhen remained very calm and only requested some time to tidy herself up. The long confinement had left her pale, haggard, and even somewhat disheveled. After a brief preparation, Zhen followed Cui Yugui and the palace maid Wang Dehuan to Jiaqing. According to Cui Yugui's recollection, Zhen was dressed in a light blue long qipao and wore dark green satin shoes, remaining silent along the way. When they arrived at Jiaqing, Cixi had sent her maids away and waited alone. Zhen knelt to pay her respects and then bowed her head to listen to the scolding. Seeing Zhen's haggard appearance, Cixi showed no sympathy and directly told her, "Foreigners have invaded. No one knows what the future holds. If you are humiliated, it will bring shame to the royal family and disrespect to our ancestors." She then stated her intention to seek refuge but found it inconvenient to take Zhen with her. Zhen boldly replied, "You can seek refuge, but the emperor cannot flee. He should remain to guard the capital and control the situation." This infuriated Cixi, who cursed Zhen to death. Zhen requested to see the emperor, but Cixi coldly responded, "The emperor cannot save you." She then ordered Zhen to be thrown into a well. Cui Yugui and Wang Dehuan, ignoring Zhen's cries, forcibly pushed her into the well by Zhenshuan Gate and even threw down 2 large stones. Zhen's final cry was, "Emperor, I will repay your kindness in the next life." She was only 24 years old that year. In the spring of 1901, the Qing dynasty reached a settlement with the 8-nation alliance, and Cixi and Guangxu prepared to return to Beijing. Cixi discovered that the place where Zhen was thrown remained unchanged, so she ordered her body to be retrieved, placed in a coffin, and buried in the maids' cemetery south of the eunuch cemetery outside Fuqingmen. She attempted to cover up the truth under the guise of martyrdom for loyalty, posthumously bestowing the title of precious consort upon Zhen. Later, Cixi and Guangxu passed away in succession, and the young Puyi ascended the throne, with Empress Dowager Longyu in power, who again posthumously honored Zhen as the consort Kushun. In 1915, Zhen's sister, consort Jin, moved her remains to the mausoleum of Emperor Guangxu at Qianlong and set up a small shrine north of Zhen's well to honor her spirit tablet. A plaque hung in the shrine, inscribed with Jingwei Tongcheng, praising Zhen's true feelings for Emperor Dezhong of the Qing dynasty. Years later, in his old age, Cui Yugui finally found an opportunity to vent his frustrations and publicly revealed the truth about Zhen's tragic fate. He recalled her composure before death, and her clear words left Cixi speechless. Cui Yugui sincerely admired Zhen. After 3 years in the cold palace, she could still maintain such clarity of mind. A woman like that is truly remarkable. This is the History and Culture channel. Liking and subscribing are the greatest help and support to us. Thank you everyone and see you in the next time.